Test 73, Section 2, Question 12. The chairperson should not have released the Election Commission's report to the public. Oh, really? Why? Why do you think that? Should is kind of like a bad word on the LSAT. You know, if you hear somebody talking about should, then it's like, whoa, wait a second. And if you had an attorney, the attorney might say, what, you know, why are you bossing my client around, telling my client what to do? So if I'm the attorney now, all of a sudden, for the chairperson, this is an attack on my client. The chairperson should not have released the Election Commission's report to the public. Really, why shouldn't she have? And they go on and say, well, that's because, for means because. So they say, well, that's because the chairperson did not consult any other members of the commission about releasing the report before having it released. And immediately, if I'm the attorney for this chairperson, I'm going to start asking questions. Why does she need to consult these other members of the commission? She is, after all, the chairperson. Where's your rule that says the chairperson has to get permission before releasing reports? All right, I have a good enough objection that I can move on to the question. Question says, the argument's conclusion can be properly inferred if which one of the following is assumed, and you should note there that that is a sufficient assumption question. They're saying one of these answers, if it's true, is going to make it so that the conclusion can be properly inferred, which means must be true. Inferred just means must be true. Properly inferred means must be true based on the facts that were in the argument. So what facts do we have and what conclusion do we want? I'm now role playing from the other side of the argument. I'm trying to prove this argument. Okay, I was going to be on the defense. Turns out the prosecution paid me more. I don't know. I'm a mercenary. I'm a lawyer. You know, I'm going to argue it both ways. So frequently, you know, the prosecution and the defense, they just know exactly what the other side is going to say. It's like I saw a defense attorney and a prosecutor one time in court, just like they were rehearsing arguments with each other before the trial. One of them was like, I know you're going to say this. And the other one's like, well, I know you're going to say that. And then I watched the trial and sure enough, that's exactly how it went down. It's like the Roadrunner and the Coyote checking in for work in the morning, you know, like saying hi to each other and then punch the punch clock and then the Coyote starts chasing the Roadrunner. You guys are too, nobody, Roadrunner, Coyote, no, all right. Used to be the highlight of my life, Saturday morning, but okay. Point is, I'm on the prosecution now, and I have to hang this chairperson for the crime of releasing the Election Commission's report to the public. Why? Why shouldn't that have happened? Well, didn't consult any other members of the commission. So I'm going to go into the law library now, or LexisNexis or Westlaw or whatever, and I'm going to do my legal research, and I'm going to try to find a law that says if you didn't consult any other members, then you should not release the report. Because this chairperson did not consult any other members. And if I can get from that fact to, you know, if I have this rule that says, well, if you didn't consult, then you can't release, shouldn't release, then I win my case. Another way of saying that, of course, would be you're only justified to release the report to the public if you consulted other members of the commission. Another way would be you shouldn't release unless you consult. I'll know it when I see it now because I know exactly the hole in the argument. I've predicted several different articulations of what's going to fill that gap, and now the answer should jump off the page. A, it would have been permissible for the chairperson to release the commission's report to the public only if most other members of the commission had first given their consent. You know, it depends how we define consent. Is implied consent a thing? I don't know here. But if the chairperson didn't consult at all, then is it possible that they could have given consent? I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that if you don't ask, you didn't give them an opportunity to consent. So I can see how that can be the answer. Now, as long as none of the other answers is going to make me win my case, I'll be more than happy picking A. B, all of the members of the commission had signed the report prior to its release. What does signatures have to do with anything? Actually, that seems like it weakens the argument, doesn't it? I mean, shouldn't have released it. Why? Well, because everybody on the commission had signed the report. That makes no sense. It also doesn't connect to the fact that we have. The only evidence we have is chairperson didn't consult, which I think means ask. B's not connected enough to the argument. That's never going to be the answer on a sufficient assumption type of a question. I mean, we have to bridge the gap between the evidence and the conclusion, and that's just not doing it. C, the chairperson would not have been justified in releasing the commission's report if any members of the commission had serious reservations about the report's content, disconnected from the facts. I have no idea whether anybody in this commission had any reservations about the report. Just not what I'm looking for. Again, I'm looking for if you didn't consult, then you can't release the report. And A so far is the only one that looks like it's building my bridge for me. D, the chairperson would have been justified in releasing the report only if each of the commission's members would have agreed to its being released had they been consulted. Wait a second now. So what D is saying is, if they would have agreed, if you would have asked, then maybe you're justified. Well, we didn't ask, so we don't know necessarily whether they would have agreed. Maybe they would have agreed. I can see D getting this chairperson off the hook. If we go around and interview all of the people on the commission and they all say, oh, if you would have asked me, I would have said no problem. Well, then in that case, D makes it look like maybe they are okay to release the report. E, some members of the commission would have preferred that the report not be released to the public. So what? I don't give a shit. This is the chairperson of the committee that we're talking about. And you come in and saying, oh, well, some people are mad, some of the commissioners are mad, so therefore the chairperson shouldn't have released the report. I say, where's your fact that says that? The only answer that builds the bridge that we need to build here is A. It's a tough question because there seems to be a little bit of wiggle room here, like, well, is it possible that they consented to the release of this report even if they weren't asked? But man, is that really going to be your case? Because if that's your case, if you're trying to defend against A, I'm going to have an awful nice time going, really? Okay, tell me more about this implied consent theory that you have. How now is it possible that you can not ask someone permission, nonetheless have consent about that issue? And so it's like the burden is just entirely on them to try to defend this. I can't pick any other answer, so it's got to be A.